Today we're going to be checking out two really cool, relatively expensive knives, starting with the Terrain 365 P38 AT. This is the manual only version. They actually have a version of this for $475 that is automatic and manual. But this knife's pretty unique in itself. In typical Terrain 365, this isn't an actual blade steel. This is a blade metal, and that is Terravantium. I believe this is their proprietary metal that goes on their blades, and I want to say it's a cobalt alloy, but I'll get you way more information when it comes to the review. So this knife is really stout for being so dang small. You can see here, it really doesn't quite fill out your hand, but it doesn't feel bad. Right here, you're really in a comfortable position. Here you can see it's a relatively thick knife. This is right next to the TRM Atom. You got this almost backlock style backspacer, like you could almost confuse it with the backlock because you got this giant hunk of metal in the back. This is a bolstered version with a liner lock. The liner lock is very easy to access, but so far since having it, it's had quite a bit of lock stick. Now I can fix that, but I don't want to fix it before I show you guys. This is a very nice looking spear point style blade. The flat grind goes about halfway up the blade, and then you have a swedge that comes down to carry a little bit of strength to that tip. Unfortunately, with Terravantium, I can't tell you guys how tough this blade steel is. All I know is that it's pretty much corrosion proof. In hand, it feels pretty good, and in cutting, it actually feels really nice. One thing I've heard about Terravantium is that it's one of those that doesn't quite feel sharp, but cuts forever. Now I can tell you it's popping hairs off my arm, but when you go to cut a sheet of paper, it does sound like you're tearing it. So there's definitely some aggression to that edge. One last really cool point about this knife is those thumb studs glow. I forgot if it's tritium or what they put in it, but again, on the review, I'll definitely let you guys know. All in all, for $375, is this knife worth it? I mean, yes and no. So you're getting that proprietary Terravantium steel on the blade. Metal on the blade. And that's pretty cool. This knife is virtually corrosion proof. That also is pretty cool. In hand, it feels pretty good, but it's small. It's a thick fat boy. So it's not gonna necessarily be one that you're gonna wanna carry in a complete discreet situation, but it is comfortable in hand. So you're giving up a little bit of carry profile for the actual little bit of comfort that it retains despite being such a small knife. I must say that when I got the knife, there was no back and forth, no up and down, and there still isn't, and the construction feels extremely solid. And this liner is actually really easy to manipulate if it wasn't for the actual lock stick of this knife. If the lock stick didn't exist, that liner is beautifully soft. It's amazing. Next on the list is a grail of mine that I've been not really hunting, just have never pulled the trigger on, and that is the Spyderco Drunken. This knife is incredible. We have this beautiful sheep's foot style blade, very akin to the Kershaw bare knuckle. Now you might be saying, well, that's a dumb comparison. Well, no, it's not. They're very similar, and the Kershaw bare knuckle has a fantastic blade shape, so why not use it? So this M390 blade is beautiful, made in Taichung, Taiwan, so it's gonna be, in theory, in Spyderco language, one of the best constructed Spydercos that you can own. What's really cool is you have this woven carbon fiber, and I don't know if you guys can tell, but there's actually milling in the carbon fiber. Freaking gorgeous. A really cool looking pivot, and then you switch to the other side. Look at that. Look at all that milling in that titanium. It's incredibly beautiful, guys. That pocket clip is just okay, and one thing I have noticed from carrying it for a couple days is that pocket clip comes loose because it's only held on by one screw. Yes, you can crank down that screw and it's not too much of an issue, but it's a thing. This backspacer and this color scheme I think look awesome. Really nice punch out for the lanyard built into the backspacer itself so it's not obtrusive. In hand, it actually feels pretty damn comfortable. And you feel like you have a ton of control. I feel like if you like the Kershaw bare knuckle, and you're never gonna get your hands in the ZTO 777 because who has $2,000 to spend on a $400 knife when, you know, right? I mean, You guys get what I'm saying, then, what I'm talking about. But this is probably a Kershaw bare knuckle lover's dream. The action is really, really nice. It feels, this is probably one of the tightest, densest, most substantial feeling Spydercos that I've ever felt. Short of, like, say, adding some titanium scales or something, right? This is out of the box incredible. You can tell the finish on this blade steel, there's something different about it. Just like the Techno 2, which was also manufactured in Taichung, Taiwan. That blade finish, it's almost like a mirrored satin finish with a tumble on it. It's goofy, but you can tell it's hard. I haven't HRC tested these knives, but I can tell you both of these are relatively hard, and that's a good thing. It's hard to explain how something like this from Spyderco can be worth $500. And I can tell you, I'm not mad about paying the $500 on this thing. I mean, there's milling in the freaking carbon fiber. The only other milling that I've seen in carbon fiber is on the CKF Fife. Another favorite of mine. So if you're a knife enthusiast, I really truly feel like the Spyderco Drunken isn't going to disappoint you as far as things that you can appreciate with it. And obviously functionality is totally there. I didn't mention, they knocked down all the area around the Spidey hole. I know it's a little detail, but my gosh, does it make it feel so much more premium. This thing's sweet. The Terrain 365 is pretty cool. I think it's a little overpriced, but I kind of get it. Unlike the Berg Blades Iron Pup, I don't necessarily get that one as much being what it is, but I still appreciate the knife. This one I appreciate a little bit more, but I still think it's a little high. The Spyderco Drunken, can they knock down the price? Well, yes, Spyderco's turning into Benchmade and their prices are outrageous. But I'm not necessarily mad at that price for everything that you get with this knife. Even the insides milled out, that just, my head kind of exploded when I opened that.